Hey guys, today I'll be giving you an update here on the Moog Modular I've been working on for Andrew. So this video is for Andrew as well. This will be part 3 of this series and probably the final part. But for those that hadn't seen parts 1 and 2, I recommend you go watch those first and then come back and watch this one, because I go through quite a bit on those 2 videos and kind of show it opened up and what's inside this thing. And also I'm going to put a link to Andrew's channel in the video description, because if you guys hadn't seen his stuff, very impressive musician, really good stuff. Can't wait to see what he does with this. I restored a Moog for him about 2 months ago, or maybe a little over 2 months, and he's using that in recordings. It just sounds fantastic. It's always a pleasure seeing people enjoy this stuff I rebuild for them. But anyways, back to this modular. I went through it basically and just did the repairs as mentioned on the other videos. It had a dead 921 oscillator. And just kind of revive it, because this thing had sets for so long, a lot of the pots didn't make connections. So I had to, kind of work and massage everything to get it to come back alive, to kind of see what worked and what didn't work. And then once I got everything kind of, diagnosed, I pulled it apart, went through each module individually, flushing all the pots, taking care of the circuitry, just do some preventive servicing, and then doing calibrations. So it's had everything done to it I could possibly do to it, and just fantastic. I didn't do anything to ruin the originality of it though. It's definitely still got a lot of vintage components in there. Mostly just took care of what it needed and just kind of preserve it is really what I guess the term would be best. It's just preservation, making sure this thing is going to work well for Andrew, so he's not going to have to fuss with it with problems and that kind of stuff. But just cleaned it up really good. Cleaned all the modules up. As you can see, they look fantastic. You can see how clean all the knobs are. Actually hand washed all the knobs as I redid these modules. I do that for every synth, but with this one it took a lot longer because there's a lot of knobs on this thing. A lot of pots too. But I do have one custom module in here. You can see this module right here. This was originally a blank. This would have been a blank right here. And so I actually built this custom module, which is 3 LFOs. So you got 3 LFOs. You got attenuators built into the module, and it attenuates the LFOs individually. So you got attenuator there, 3 attenuators. Goes out here. This is actually going to give you a square wave as well as a triangular wave output, which are both attenuated at the same time. That's the only drawback, is I had to kind of do some double attenuations with single knobs, just to save room, because I was trying to do all this in a single space module. But the actual module interface came from synthesizers.com, so it's a synthesizers.com format interface, or Moog format interface, but by synthesizers.com. And it was a blank. I didn't want to cut up the RA Moog blank, so I put it in a box with Andrew's stuff, so it's preserved, and we now got this really cool LFO. And what I've got right now is I've actually got it routed where LFO 1 is routed to the frequency control of 921A over here, which is the 2 921Bs. I've got the second LFO routed to the 921, so you get 2 frequency controls independent from each other. And then I've got the third one routed to the pulse width of the 2 921Bs through the 921A. So that's kind of how I got it set up here. And but yeah, just a really cool module. I can walk you through the oscillator so you can just see how clean everything is. Did a really tight calibration on those. Now they are going to drift. This is naturally going to drift a little bit, but the 921s are temperature compensated, which is pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that, as mentioned in my earlier video. But you can see all the switches are all lit up here. I replaced this switch with one from over here because these are not used. They don't even have power on them. So I pulled one of the switches there and put over here because the light was burnt out. So now all the switches actually light up like they should. That one might be hard to see, that blue one there. It lights up. And same thing with this one. They all light up here, as you can see. That one lights up, but just there it is. But those do not light up because they're not wired to anything. The only other one that lights up is the actual filter over here. This is your filter input for your low pass filter, because I got that one on. But So anyways, that's all the switches. All the mixers are cleaned. Rebuilt the keyboard assembly. So this is the 950 keyboard. So I went through it and actually put new key bushings in it. And as you can hear, I'll turn off our trigger modes here. You hear how nice and clean that keyboard sounds, unlike before in my other video. It was all clanky. Now you can't hear the contacts, as there's actually 3 sets of contacts in this thing. So it's a little bit more going on inside under the key, but it's still a Pratt Reed keyboard like what you find in the Mini Moog, just with more contact buses. But what's also interesting about this keyboard, so this was kind of new design for me, going back from Moog stuff, is that it's actually using a electromechanical relay to make and break the circuit from the keyboard to the sample and hold cap for your CV voltage memory. And never have seen that. Usually everything is FETs or transistors, but this is actually using a actual relay in there, electromechanical break for isolation. So pretty cool, pretty wild. I wasn't expecting that. Works great though. It does really work really well. But once again, conditioned the wood here. Just cleaned everything up. And I'll walk you around too, just so you can kind of see this thing. Here's the cabinet. You can see how nice and clean it looks. It's going to be a little oily. It's still soaking in the conditioner. This is probably about the 4th coat of conditioner. I always kind of over condition them. It was really, really dry. This thing was so dry it looked white. So it brought all the colors back out. It just looks really good. Before back here, you can see the power supplies here. These are not the original power supplies. Somebody had put these in the past, but they work really well. So I just went through them, recapped them, took care of them. And but you can just kind of see how clean everything is inside here now. Everything's really clean. Now that big transformer sitting up there, that's actually what runs those lights I was showing you a while ago, the flip switches. That's the power for the lights, because this was before LEDs. So it's actually using actual incandescent bulbs. So pretty wild. But that's how it gets its power for the switch. It's 5 volts AC. I think it's like a 6 amp transformer, so it's pretty beefy. I'm sure if you have more cabinets, it would definitely use more current. But you can just kind of see how clean everything is. There's the modules I had cleaned up. I stuck all the stickers back on them, glued them on after I cleaned them up. So you can see, now that one's got a little discoloration in the metal work, but it's clean. You can see just how nice all that looks. There's our custom module right there. You can see it's not quite built like a Moog, but it sets in there really nice. And I got it hardwired over here at this terminal block, so it's actually wired. Basically, I don't have these connectors, and to get an edge connector board and all that kind of stuff, it gets kind of crazy. But anyways, that's the module. You can just see how clean it looks on the inside here. Now I did actually disconnect this from up here. I will be reconnecting that up here. This was a spare connector, and I used it for calibration purposes. Actually, I ended up plugging into the modules setting outside here, so I used this kind of the test area and set up my scope and everything over here, and went through all the calibrations using this connector to power the modules. So it worked out really well. That was actually one thing I was glad it had a spare connector. But anyways, let me walk back around this way. You can kind of see the side here. I'll just give you another side shot here of how clean everything looks. Just a fantastic instrument. I can't say that enough. It's just such a interesting instrument, especially never having one of these in person. It's been a real treat, digging into this thing. Because it's all Moog circuitry. It's stuff I'm kind of familiar with. Moog, kind of stuck with what worked. Over the years, I just found ways to use integrated circuits in places of all the transistors, which makes things more stable, because now you got thermal compensation within components, and also just tolerances got better, as years went on. So there's just some things changed, and of course that does affect some of the way things work, but for the most part, Moog knew what they were doing when they designed the stuff. This as well as the other synthesizers. So it's definitely definitely cool territory. But anyways, let me put the camera on the tripod here, and I'll give you a demo. Okay, so now I'm just going to start with a patch I've actually already made, just kind of give you an idea how this thing sounds. So we're actually got it split to 2 channels on the VCAs here, 2 mixers here, and so I got one pan just a little bit to the right, just slightly, over to the left just a little bit, slightly. So we've got a kind of a cool field of effect here. The first one you're going to hear is just the reverb, the fixed filter bank, and oscillator 2, which is the 921B. So here it is. Oops, I gotta make it trigger it. Here we go. So that's kind of a combination of two different channels on the VCAs here, and of course you're hearing the ladder filter on the other one. But I'll turn that one off. So now here's just the oscillators together. We got the oscillator 2 down the mix of the But you can hear how accurate those oscillators are. I've calibrated them really close and really tight. Now they get magical when you detune them just a hair. That's part of what makes the Moog sounds in every synthesizer. But you hear the octave ranges? So as you can hear how accurate those footages are of the oscillators now. And of course we can turn each one down. I should go through each oscillator real quick. So let me turn this off over here. So here's just one oscillator here. This will be the 921B, this first one. So we got rectangular, sawtooth, triangular, and of course we can change the pulse width. So there's the oscillator, the first 921B. We'll turn it down. Here's this one. Actually unplug. That's the one going into our fixed filters. So there's our rectangular, sawtooth, triangular, sine, same thing here. We got the same pulse width control. And also the oscillator sync works for both these. I'll show you that. I did have to repair the oscillator sync on one of these. It did not work. Now this isn't the kind of sync that you think of with the typical reset of the oscillator like what you find in some of the synthesizers. This is more of a phase lock situation. So if we plug into sawtooth here, I'm going to detune one oscillator just a hair. So you can hear that beating against them. We'll plug into oscillator sync in. You can hear it locks that together. Now if we modulate those, they're going to modulate you got weak and strong. So that's how that works. If we go here and reverse that, we'll take this one here and lock it to this oscillator. As you can hear. Retune to the 921 here because I did knock that one out earlier. And there they are. So you can see how the oscillator sync works for both of those oscillators there. So I just want to show you that works. The other oscillator here, we'll turn it up. So here's the 921. We'll go to the waveforms right now on rectangular, which is pulse width. Sawtooth. Triangular. And sine. And this is the other modulation here for the 921. As you can hear. So that's that modular I built for the LFO. We'll combine those oscillators together. So anyways, you can hear the oscillators, how that works together there. I'm going to plug this back in here. So that's your oscillators. Your filter, of course, you've already heard. Now, it'll hurt you if you're not careful. This emphasis, the regeneration, as it's called on here, it goes into a really... We'll turn this off here. We can turn key tracking on. So you can hear that filter. It just sounds great. And that's using the controls over here for the control voltage switches. So that's that one. We got the envelope set to 4 for attenuation here. generator there. It's a little bit more complicated than what you find with a mini Moog, because it's actually got a control for, so you got your attack, decay, sustain. You've also got this one, it's like a release. So if we turn it up, if we set everything to 0, it's like a sustain level. So anyways, you can hear how that works. Now the filter has different modes, so right now we're in 2. We can go to 3. And that's where it hurts, because it's got such a high resonance. We'll go to 1. So anyways, you can hear that filter, how great it sounds. So that's the voltage control low pass filter, the 904A. I've got this unhooked here. Well, actually, we got it hooked back up. We'll go here, and I'll show you the actual fixed filter bank. So we're going to the other VCA now. So this is actually where you can control. It's like the resonator on the Poly Moog. So right now you don't hear anything. We'll bring up the low. So it's just the low. 250. Let me make this thing sustain for me here. We got 250, 350. So that was 2800, 2000, 1400, 1000, 700, 500, 350, 250, and then we got the low. So now we also got the high pass. Bring that up. But when you mix these things, you can kind of highlight what harmonic you want. So you kind of hear how that fixed filter bank works there. We've got the reverberation actually on the other side of the VCA. So we'll bring out the reverb. So it's actually a spring reverb. It's a little noisy. I think that's because it's that spring and nothing's really shielded in this thing at all. So everything's kind of exposed. So it does get a little bit noisy sometimes, but combine that back with the low pass filter, seeing how that works is just a really cool sound. So I'll go back here to the modulation stuff real quick, because that's kind of just showing you what you've got here. Now you do have your envelope generator for your VCAs, so I'll show you that real quick. So we'll turn off the VCA for the low pass filter. This is the one to the fixed filter. We'll set everything to 0. And you'll hear just a click. So there's our decay. We got the attack. And of course we've also got our release. And we got our sustain. As you can see. So that envelope's working fantastic. So actually go back here and kind of set up for a so there's that one. And then we've got the Bose coded amplifier used for the low pass filter right now with this on envelope. This is the VCA number 2. So we'll go here, turn everything to 0 on it. You hear just a click. Turn off the so that's your attack. Then we got the decay. As you can see, and then we've also got the release. So we set that up kind of slow. If I let off the note quick, you'll hear that release. You can hear that attack there. So we got that, and we've also got the sustain. It's basically still follow the release off the note. So if we have that set all the way to 0, as you can hear. So there's your voice chord amplifiers, your envelope generators, your filter, your fixed filter bank, reverb unit. We'll go back to the oscillators for a minute. So with these modulations, we've actually got where we can actually modulate the pulse width the way I've got it set up here. So we'll go here. So that right now this is just oscillator 1 here. We'll go here. So we've got the pulse width modulation, but then we also got frequency modulation on the first LFO. So there's the two oscillators there. We'll turn it back down. And then we've got the oscillator, the 921 here. So we'll bring it up. It's got its own modulation. So we'll go here and go. And we got Vox Humana. You had to know that was coming. But anyways, that's a combination of using the LFOs. We can also take this LFO off pulse width, plug it into the filter over here. So we got that. We can also put a square wave on it. So we'll go here and plug that in. So you can hear, you can have a lot of fun with this thing. We'll actually put a square wave on the 921 here. So anyways, you just kind of see what kind of fun this extra modulation stuff will allow you to do. It really opens up what this synth can do. Of course, I'm just, just doing a rough patch there. But anyways, that's really the synthesizer. We also do have this little attenuator right here, which I hadn't showed. You got the attenuator here, but this is a low pass setting and high pass setting, which is just a passive module. So if we just take an oscillator, we'll put an oscillator through it. Also, I'll tell you what, we'll use your noise source. So go here and go to white noise. We'll input here, and we'll just take this right here and patch this into that. Put that back in the mixer, and we'll turn down the other oscillators. This cable here has got a bad connection in it. So we got so basically it's just a step. It's a selecting what filter set is used, the capacitors. We got a high pass here. I may actually need to clean the jacks on this particular module. I'll do that before it goes out. But we got that, then we've got just an attenuator, so we can just attenuate the volume. As you can see. It's just an attenuator. So you got your white noise. I'll clean the jacks on this one. I forgot to clean the jacks on that one. So we got white noise and we got pink noise, as you can hear, and that's just directly from the module into the mixer. So that's your noise source and your little filter and attenuators here with the selectable outputs. But like I said, I'll clean these jacks. That's just one thing I think I forgot to clean those. A lot going on in this thing. But anyways, just want to take a minute here and make you a video, Andrew, just to kind of show you what you've got here. And for all you guys that are watching, I appreciate all you guys watching and have been watching, especially on this journey of this modular. It's been a real adventure even for myself here. But anyways, there'll be more to come here very soon. Take care. And if I don't see y'all before Christmas, y'all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Take care.